This is Take a Cue, episode 15.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to Take a Cue. I'm Erik Donough, 8th grade band and jazz band director.
And I'm Jen Wise, 4th and 5th grade instrumental music teacher.
And I'm CJ Margolis, sophomore music ed major at the College of New Jersey.
We love talking about teaching music in New Jersey public schools, and we're excited to bring teaching experiences and insights to you.
So excited! Whether you're just starting your teaching career or you've been teaching longer than we have, this show will help you grow with new ideas and perspectives about music education and teaching.
We hope you'll be just as inspired as we are every time you listen.
Before we begin, if you enjoy our podcast, please help us out by doing a few super easy things.
First, subscribe on your favorite podcast app.
Then make sure you rate the podcast and leave a review.
It helps people find our show who haven't yet, and we really appreciate it.
If you find that you get a lot out of our episodes, we'd be grateful if you considered becoming a monthly supporter to help us grow the podcast.
You can sign up to make a secure monthly payment using the link in our show notes or on our Anchor site, anchor.fm/takeaq. That's all one word.
Also, if you have questions or comments about anything you hear on the episode, come and interact with us on social media. We're Take a Cue Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right, we've got the triumvirate here today.
We do.
Always exciting to have the three of us here.
Welcome back, CJ.
Thank you. Good to be back.
This is good.
So on our last episode, we talked about the NJMEA conference. So if you haven't listened to that and you're at the conference, why not check it out? Just to see what you should go see that's happening. And yeah, if you haven't gone to the conference, maybe this will entice you to go. Who knows?
Absolutely.
I will be there.
Oh, yes. Well, there you go.
That's so
Now
great.
you've got another reason to go to the conference. CJ will be there.
That's it.
Are you performing at it, or just going as a student who's checking everything out?
I'm going as both. The bassoon ensemble from TCNJ is playing in one of the lobby shows, but we're also just going for the convention.
Well, that's exciting.
Cool.
How cool.
Yeah, that'll be so fun. So to our anonymous listeners out there, introduce yourselves to us if you see us on the exhibit floor, and because we want to meet you. So.
Speaking of anonymous listeners, I got to go we're recording this on the 11th of February, and I got to go to the intermediate region band auditions today. And I met people, Jen, this is so exciting. I met people I didn't know who knew our podcast and were like, your podcast is awesome. I love listening.
Oh, that's so
How fun is that?
That's great. Oh, man. Shout out to the junior region crowd. They are just the best people. So,
Absolutely.
Wow. That's so good.
Yeah, it was a fun day. We had it at Wayne Valley, Valley High School. And that was the first time it was there. It was really, seemed to be really well run, very smooth.
Good.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Kudos
That's so
to them.
great. Yeah, I was going to ask you, CJ, like what's been up with you? I mean, hopefully the fame and fortune after being on our podcast isn't like going to your head, but really, what have you been up to?
Luckily, I've been able to stay humble the last couple of months.
Okay.
But there was a lot of going on. A couple of the notable ones in November, TCNJ choirs got to perform with the Philly Orchestra for the Home Alone performances, which was like, I had never been to the Kimmel Center before either. So getting to go as a performer was it was kind of crazy.
What are the Home Alone performances? Yeah. I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, okay. So it's the Home Alone movie, and then we were the choirs in the background. So we sang over, and then the orchestra played all the music. So it's the
that's cool.
Yeah. I got to see one show like that when I was little, Fantasia. So it was cool to be in one too.
Wow.
That's neat.
Yeah.
What a great experience.
Yeah.
So that was November. In December, I had a gig with my band, CJ and the Cats, which was cool. And then
where'd you play?
Oh, we played at Tavern on George. Okay. It's in New Brunswick. That's where we usually play.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have another gig coming up in March, which will be fun.
What's the instrumentation of that?
It changes every time. I kind of just invite my friends and then we all play whatever we're feeling at the time. This most recent set, it was my septet. So it was me, my friend Ryan, who went to TCNJ, my friend Jacob on piano, my friend Dawn on drums, my friend Chris on guitar, my friend Alex on bass, and then my friend Sarah was vocals. So
Wow.
Nice.
yes, and I have
That
my
sounds awesome.
saxophone, my saxophone and my bassoon. So
A jazz bassoon. I love that.
yes,
Cool.
yeah.
Now, can our listeners find your music if they're not in the New Brunswick area? Can they find it somewhere online?
I don't release music yet, but I do have a music Instagram at CJ Margolis Music. So if you're interested in checking it out, that's where you can find me.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll link to it
Well,
in
that's great.
our show notes for sure.
Sure.
Nice.
So that was December, and then in January I went to Israel, which was pretty cool.
Whoa.
So I got to jump around and experience music and nature and life all over Israel, which was pretty cool too.
Wow.
Wow. Is that your first time?
It was my first time going. Yeah.
Do you have family there, or just a place you want to see?
It is super distant family, but they are there. I went with a group though. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah. It was cool. There was one night where we had a free night on out in Tel Aviv. So my friends and I went looking for jazz, and we found 3 different places, and one of them was literally playing New Orleans style jazz in the heart of Israel, which was so
Wow.
funky.
Oh my
So-
gosh.
Wow.
That's
It was
wild.
pretty cool.
I'm very jealous.
Yeah, that's
It was
cool
fun.
stuff.
My last several months were not nearly as exciting as that.
No. Oh yeah, same here. Definitely not. Oh, that's
But
so
Jen,
amazing.
you've got some excitement that over the last couple weeks.
Oh, I have. Where to begin? We got a lot going on here. So my winter concerts happened, both of them, and they went pretty well. Yeah, we had a good time. We came, we saw, we played, and my one school, I just teach the band there, and our 5th grade band played 4 tunes, and the beginning band, we did what we said. We started with hot cross buns, and then we did section songs for each section, and we closed it out with a rousing rendition of Jingle Bells. And and then my other concert was just this past Monday night, and if y'all remember 2 weeks ago, because it'll be 2 weeks ago by the time this comes out, we had that crazy cold snap, right? And then we had a very warm weekend, and then the next day I had my concert. So the terrible things over the course of 4 days that happened to string instruments, I can't describe what the chaos it was right before the concert. I had 4 down bridges. I had 3 broken strings. Not usually I break it. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry, but I was tuning. No, they came to the concert with broken strings, and I started tuning the orchestra at 6:30. We did not take the stage until it was 7:15. I don't think we started playing until 7:18, and this was a 7:00 concert. It took 45 minutes for me to tune up the orchestra of 65, 70 kids. So
Oh my gosh.
it was intense. And meanwhile, in the same warm-up space, I had my 4th grade band of 40 and my 5th grade band of 35, and all revved up and ready to go, and I pretty much had to just sing at them and warm them up that way while tuning a violin, and okay guys, let's get on stage. It was pretty wild. So
Wow. And it's all you.
yeah, I teach both the orchestra, 4th and 5th grade orchestra, and 4th and 5th grade band at that school. And it's great. It's like cast of thousands. It's so many kids. But it's just me. And we have, our choir teacher, Jill, and she's amazing. And she helped get the band on stage while I was continuing to tune the orchestra, and we had a couple teachers from the 4th and 5th grade team come out and help us backstage and help us watch the kids in the seats while I'm up on stage with the other group. And without them, it would have been really tough to put this program on. I know it's not like that at every school. I know they don't, not everybody has grade level teachers come, but it was huge. So
Wow.
but everybody played really well. We had a lot of fun, and the orchestra, like notable concert moments. The orchestra played Can Can. Like they did really well. It was not ShopRite commercial fast. I told them that. I was like, you don't have to be as fast as like the ShopRite commercial, but it has to sound like
and they're like, what is that?
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I'm not really sure what you're talking about, And then when they do catch it on TV, they're like, oh, now I know, because it happened like since I gave the music out in December or the end of November. The Can sale has come and gone, so yeah. That was a notable part of the performance, and
Nice.
yeah, it came out pretty good, but yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, that was nice. And other things. Well, Erik, you've been playing a show this week.
I have. I've been playing Drowsy Chaperone over at Del Barton High School, which is a private Catholic high school here in Morristown. Mm-hmm. And my good friend, longtime friend, Dave is the conductor. He's the music director of music at the school, and we went to Ithaca together we overlapped for 2 years and sang in the a cappella group there and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great show. We did unfortunately have a little bit of musical chairs going on, however, in the first read book. I'm playing read 2. Mm-hmm.
Because those moments where you feel like all your friends are hanging out without you. So yeah, it was one of those that my husband was playing the read 1 book, and he ended up with COVID in the middle of the week. So yeah, it's been a tough week for me. So he's doing okay. He's bouncing back. He's got some upper respiratory stuff, but it's been like, oh no, we have to like keep testing, and grandma and grandpa want to stay away because they don't want to pick it up from me or my son, even though we've been testing negative and no symptoms, but like I'd be nervous if I were them too. So I'm sleeping on the couch. I don't know. I put on some like under eye stuff, but I know I'm not like as fresh as I usually am on for our Freestyle Friday. But yeah, it's been a tough week. So, but you guys got a sub in there, and the show must go on, right?
Yeah, that was wild. We've been rehearsing for most of January, and Tom called me. Was it Monday?
It was Tuesday because I had my concert Monday, and we came home Monday night, and he's like, "This is not good," and I was like, "Uh-oh," and
so he called me Tuesday, and he goes, "I have COVID. Do you know anybody who can play this book for the show this week?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah. Meanwhile,
and it turned out,
yeah,
I did know somebody who had played that exact book last year, who was available for every single show, including the Wednesday day performance, which is wild.
That is so crazy. Yeah. And
just worked out.
It did. Meanwhile, like David had originally asked me to play the book, and I took one look at it and I was like, no, a little beyond my skills.
There's a ton of soprano sax in that book.
So much soprano sax. And I sat down with it for a good half an hour, and I was like, I could put this together in, it's like I'm playing like Name That Tune. I'm like, I could put this together in 3 months. And he's like, you have 4 weeks. And I'm like, no. But too bad for Tom, but I'm glad the run is still going well for you guys, because that's good.
Yeah, they do a great job there every year. It's like job security. It's always the same people who get hired year after year, because Dave has his people, and he knows that we're going to show up early and we're going to be ready to go, and
totally
not going to flake.
Not going to get sick.
You can't help that.
You can't. So I'm a little. Still pretty curious about Junior Region. How many kids did you have going out there today?
Oh my gosh. Between Brendan and me, that would be 7th and 8th graders. They're auditioning for the 7, 8, 9 groups. It's called the Intermediate Region here in northern New Jersey, and open to any 7th or 8th or 9th grader from northern New Jersey, as long as their teacher agrees to go and be a judge at the auditions. And I think we had a record this year. I think we had like 16 or 17 kids go out from Heritage, which is wild. I had my first time sending percussionists in 21 years of teaching or whatever it's been, I've never sent percussionists before. We had 2
Oh, that's cool.
that got sent the day.
That's awesome. Say, well, good luck to them.
Oh, yes. Yes. So it'll be fun. It was a learning experience for me too. I called our friend Rick and was like, hey, how do percussion auditions work in Region? I've never done this before.
It's a lot of material. They have to prepare to be a percussionist.
For those people who aren't in Northern New Jersey, they have to, if they want to do the battery percussion audition, they have to do snare drum etude, snare drum sight reading. Then they have to do a mallet etude, and then they have to do snare rudiments memorized, and then they have to do traps rudiments, which includes a bass drum, a line of bass drum, a line of triangle, tambourine, and crash cymbals.
Yep. That's right. That's you got it,
And you thought it was tough on bassoon. Now you got to play 8 instruments.
8
it's wild.
instruments. Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, it's the whole if you're going to play it on a region concert, you need to come in and be prepared. We can assign you any part once you get in there. So, yeah,
totally makes sense. But wow,
wow,
yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. So CJ, anything else cool before we kind of jump into some of our topic for tonight? Anything else cool going on over there in CJ land?
I actually did think of a few things. Last week we had our saxophone summit. I forgot to mention. So we had our biggest one yet. We had 85 saxophones on the stage, and we played a whole concert all just saxophone rep. It was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's neat.
That was a lot of fun. So, and I played it on tenor, which was my first big time concert on tenor too, which is cool.
Any solos?
I did have a solo. I soloed over a song called Sharp 9. It was like a blues piece, but it was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
My favorite chord.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was I think a B flat blues, which is neat. And then I started going and visiting a preschool recently with my practicum class. So I finally got to be in front of a classroom with a bunch or a class of kids and stuff, which has been
oh my
so
gosh.
exciting too. So
Preschoolers.
Yes.
Talk about that. How's that been?
So I've gone 2 times. First time with my class, the second time with my fraternity. And so the first time that we went, we showed them a saxophone trio. So I arranged Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and we played it for them, and they sang along, and it was so cute. And they didn't know what a saxophone was either, so they were so excited. There was one point when I played The Panther by Dexter Gordon for them, and they were snapping on 2 and 4, and it was so cute. Really fun. And then last week we went back, and I brought my guitar, and we sang You're My Sunshine and Hello, Goodbye, and it was just it was really magical. We sang Frozen with them and stuff, and they were so excited.
Oh, that's cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, are you lesson planning for that, or just saying, okay, everybody, let's experience some new music together? Or how are you preparing for that?
Yeah, for my practicum class, we did pretty hard, or not hardcore, but we planned out what we were going to do and how to keep them engaged in different modalities and stuff like that. When we went to the fraternity, it was kind of who do we have that's coming and what can we show them based off who's going to be there. But even with that, I feel the more that I'm learning, the more that I'm able to adjust on the spot. So oh, this is what we need in this moment and stuff like that too. So.
Nice. Oh, that's good.
Yes. So much of teaching is about kind of reading the moment and then kind of tailoring what you're doing to that moment with the kids you have in front of you.
It was I think that I've always imagined playing guitar with a group of kids, and I had never really had the opportunity to. And then sitting in front of them, singing together, and they were all dancing in their spots and stuff. I was oh, this is what it's all about. It
Nice.
Finally felt right. So.
Oh, that's
That's
good.
great.
Yeah.
I guarantee if you went to my daughter's preschool, there would be at least one kid who definitely knows the saxophone.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes. Kate already says that's what she wants to play when she gets older.
Oh, okay.
It is a good choice.
I tried to discourage it, but doesn't seem to work. I'm just kidding.
I feel saxophone is less painful than oboe, so.
Oh my gosh. 2 oboists in the house.
Oh, could you imagine?
3. I don't really count myself, but yeah.
Wow.
2 kids learning oboe in the house at the same time. That'd be intense.
That'd be a lot. Yeah. My son definitely knows what a saxophone is, but unfortunately, his eyes really like light up every time he here's a trumpet.
Oh, okay. All right, trumpet.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought
but
you were going to say
still,
drums.
yeah. No. Well, I mean, he likes the drums. He kind of gets it. He like knows why we drum, to keep the beat, and he gets that. We do like our little parades around the house, and he goes boom, boom, boom. He's good. It's
And you
just,
have your drum set set up there in the basement,
that's
right?
true. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So he
Does he
plays
ever
with
get on it
Daddy.
and just jam out?
Oh yeah, totally, big time. And we'll sing along, and he'll rock out. But no, man, his eyes light up every time he sees a trumpet. And we had a little trumpet feature at the concert, and he came to see my concert, and he keeps asking, "Mommy, how is your concert? How is your concert? You like it? You like it? I like trumpet.
Aw.
I like trumpet. Okay, bud. Oh, a lot of trumpet in his head right now. So
Cute.
CJ, after the last time we talked, we said like, we really got to, know you and know where you're at. But I know like you had some questions for us, and maybe tonight would be a good time. We could chat about some of the things you had on your mind, for us.
How do you have time to be a human being on top of all of your work and personal commitments?
I know the answer in my house. It's called a spouse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Dividing and conquering is the answer here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And asking for help when you need it. That's a big one for me. Especially like with, and I've talked about this on previous episodes, especially with my MS. Like if I don't ask for help, like I'm in big trouble. That's a learned skill. That is definitely a learned skill for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, when I was starting out, Jen, I don't know about you, but I was I was there till like 5, 6 o'clock at night a lot, kind of getting ready for the next day and kind of just trying to stay afloat. But I feel like now after doing this for a while, you kind of get into a groove. You know what you're doing. And I don't know, rarely is there a day where I'm really there past 4 at this point. Because kind of just have everything in place. The systems are there and just kind of, move along a little bit. Do you feel the same?
I do. Yeah. I feel like I'm tweaking and updating things. I've also given up a lot of things that are like big time suckers. Like for me, like, I taught like 10 years of marching band. And I'm not doing that right now. And it really makes the other things just a little more manageable, because like, for me, it was never really staying, late to teach my beginning and middle school band. But it was like starting and running the honor band after school and being there for that extra hour and a half, 2 hours to do that. And then running the summer music camp and taking all that extra time and being at school for the month of July. Though that was like a big, energy sap for me. So like, and then, I love teaching marching band and I love teaching indoor color guard. But at some point, you look at the numbers, like indoor color guard is a 6-month season for like a $3,000 stipend. That's not quite, that doesn't always like fill you up like you need it to, So I started cutting out those things. I may have talked about this a little bit before, but like getting a hobby that's outside of making music for me was a big one. Like once I
was
really
going to say the same thing, Jen. Yeah.
Yeah. I got into cycling and got serious about cycling. Like that was a big thing for me. You start to see like, okay, there's more than, than what's going on in school during the day. But like, it's so hard to find that balance, and it's a great question because, and I feel this goes for anybody that works in a people business, right? Like, there are people's like, lives and perspectives and self-worth at stake with what we do, so you feel like you want to give everything you've got all the time, and you have to, because like their life matters too, but like striking that balance between like I'm serving the people around me and I'm keeping myself healthy and my family healthy is like I said, it's a learned skill. So
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So for you, it was, it's being able to say no to things. And I totally agree. There was definitely a point in my career earlier where I really didn't say no to like anything.
Oh, same.
And, I was the assistant marching band director for 2 marching bands. I did my full-time job and I was teaching lessons and playing like shows when they would come up and stuff like that. And it got to be just too much, it was too much. So, so it took a step back from marching band, only 1 marching band now. And I'm not an assistant director anymore. I stopped doing lessons a few years ago. I enjoy doing lessons. I even did them out of my house. So it wasn't like I was traveling much, but it just got to be there was, and your life and your family changes. And, now there's 2 kiddos here and I like to see them and enjoy our time together. And, and Kate, although she's wonderful, is 4 and can't stay home alone. So if one of us needs to drive Maggie one place, then the other one needs to be home with Kate or, drive around or with, it's so that it's just being able to say no, I think is good, is a good habit to get into, even if you want to do something. I enjoy doing those marching band,
Oh yeah, totally.
Running from one to another and doing private lessons. I enjoyed all that stuff, but it's okay to say no to stuff. I think that's important. And then I totally agree with you. Having hobbies outside of either music or just teaching, is a good thing. Like most of my hobbies, I think involve music in some way, but not always teaching. I enjoy singing in my church choir, and that that definitely fills my soul. Being able to do that, and I enjoy recording. Outside of school, just kind of doing recording projects. I'm also, I know may sound weird to some of our listeners. I also enjoy like fixing stuff around the house, which is very odd. I like trying to fix stuff and do that. And I also, I have, my wife and I own a couple properties where, I'll go up and need to fix a sliding door or something like that. And while that's kind of a pain sometimes, it's nice to do something a little different. Get out of the house and do something that's not teaching related or music related. But having that balance is really important.
Yeah, last semester, that's okay. Last semester, I got myself into a very similar situation where I was asked by several different professors at different points in times, like personally, to be in like this ensemble or this quintet or whatever. And I ended up overloading to 20 credits, which is one step below like the maximum. And it got to the point at the end of the semester where I literally could not go and practice. Like it wasn't even that, for one, I didn't have the time, but 2, like I absolutely despised the thought of picking up my instrument because it just made me so stressed and so anxious. So over break, I literally was like, I'm just not going to touch them, because if it's like not something that I look forward to right now, then I'm disconnect. Like I have a disconnect from my music. So I think that after that, I was like, I really need to just pick and choose the things that are most important to me, as far as like what I want to do as a musician and like what's going to bring the most joy towards my teaching and stuff. So it's like, it's hard because I feel like a lot of people have to learn it the hard way, that like you can't do everything all at once because it just makes it too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. And like, I feel bad when, like the people around me, like don't, like I have to, when you have to say no, it's really hard. Right. But no, you have to like, you got to look out, for yourself and your family a little bit and, your like kind of direction. So yeah. I feel for you. It's tough to experience that, for the first time. I said to one of my colleagues who I ran into at a marching band show, and I was standing in front of the color guard, right? And he knew me as a flutist, right? And I was standing in front of the color guard, and I've got my cock block, do this, toss this higher, blah, blah, blah. I'm like barking at them. And he's like, I had no idea you did the visual thing. And I said, yeah, and if you tell anyone, I will kill you, because then I have to say no to another friend. Like,
I was going to say, because everybody needs color guard instructors.
Everybody needs color guard instructors. And, you just have to say like, yes, I do this, but I'm not available to you, and I'm telling you that up front, because I could see the light in his eyes, like, oh, some, but I don't make that public knowledge because it's like, totally. So you might have to hide your bassoon, but I'm just kidding.
No, that's the one that's going to get you the side gigs.
It's true.
Sorry to say, not much on sax.
There's lots of saxophones.
But bassoon, well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That was a smart double right there.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to continue with what we were kind of talking about as far as like teacher burnout. I know because there's just so much being demanded of teachers these days that it's a very real problem. And I was wondering if you guys had experience with that and also like how you get out of it or avoid those kinds of situations.
I don't want to say it's all washed away at concert time, but a lot of it gets scrubbed away for me at concert time. And I don't know if that's a popular answer, if other people feel the same way. But I was feeling so burnt out right after winter break. I was like, I can't believe we're back. How am I supposed to get through the next month and 2 concerts and all these kids? And how am I going to do this? And I have to schedule all these extra rehearsals and, and then, but I'll tell you what, after this week, after actually like doing the concerts and seeing like the joy from the kids, like that made a huge, like for me, like it kind of snapped me back, like, okay, this is what's next. Let's get back into it. Check in with me 6 weeks from now and I'll be like, spring break, where art thou? Like I will be, I'll be there. But the last couple of weeks that really did, it did help me out. I feel like I kind of have to manage, I don't know the right way to say this, but I have to manage the capital I use up with like the 4th and 5th grade teachers and my principal and my supervisor. Like I feel like if I can like keep an eye on like how much am I really asking of them, then I get more positivity back. And then, it's like it's a cycle. So like, if I'm asking a lot from the 5th grade team, like then I'm like, okay, I should back off. And then I don't end up feeling as burnt out because I'm still having that like positive relationships around me. So like, it's when things get, get negative. That's when I feel the burnout. That's when I feel like, oh, what am I doing here? Kids that quit don't really contribute to burnout for me because it's just like, well, you tried it and that was cool. I'm glad you tried it, and I can, at this point in my career, I can let that go. But, I just, I make time to like you said, like do those other things like work out or cycling or, that fights burnout, for me as well. Do you feel burnout at all, Erik?
I mean, there are times when I'm more in it than others throughout the year. I don't know if I've ever really felt burnout other than when it's just, I don't even know if that was considered burnout or just not a great, it just wasn't a great year, way back toward the beginning of my career. But I think was something you said before probably contributes, I think, to some people who experience burnout, Jen, and that is, you said like their self-worth is tied up, in their job.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they, and I know teachers like this and they're wonderful humans who pour 100% of themselves into their job every moment of every day, whether they're at school or home or wherever. And like I said, I'm so thankful that there are teachers out there who do this, but I think also that really contributes to that burnout so much faster because, we only have so much energy to give. And if you're just constantly giving all that energy in one place, and especially because, teaching is not always a respected, profession, out in the public. And if you feel like you're not getting a lot back, it's a very one-sided, way to live your life, or it can be, I think, for some people. And I imagine that might, contribute to some of that burnout. I don't know. Just a thought really, on the matter. But I think you're right. Having interest outside of school and being able to at some point just say, I'm going to now leave what I'm doing at school, and I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Like you said, CJ, you put down your horn, and it was causing you stress. So you kind of put down the horn and you took a break, and that's okay. I think that's a good thing. Did you find it was useful and rekindled your desire to play, or how do you feel?
Yeah. Taking the time away, I think it gave me a minute to like go back and actually like appreciate music as music, like go in and listen to the stuff that I wanted to be playing later on. And I knew that if I spent the time away from it in that moment, that I would want to play it even more later on. And I think that for the most part, that's how it's been. While I took my time away, I think I also had to check in with myself and realize like, just because I'm not playing 8 hours a day doesn't mean that the work I'm doing isn't worthwhile and isn't valuable. And I think that that's really helped moving through this semester, in that I'm not forcing myself to have unrealistic expectations of what I am doing. It's just that what I'm doing is enough, and every step that I take is contributing to a greater goal. So.
I mean, like I totally get that. Like 3 or 4 years into, no, it was 5 or 6, sorry, 5 or 6 years into teaching, I started to get really tired of hot cross buns, if you could believe it. And so I took on a student teacher, and then I took on another student teacher, and then I took a class, master's level class in administration and supervision. And I was like, you know what? The thing that does keep me going is like this, and supporting my colleagues. And like, I don't know everything, but like, I could listen to you, and we can talk through things like we do on here. Like, like those things help me fight burnout, because I'm thinking like bigger picture. I'm not worried about that kid who showed up to the concert with a broken reed and no more than that. Those are the things that like, can get to you after a while. But, when you start to like go back and look at the bigger picture and think about the music you want and to come from your instrument in the future, and, like kind of what you're talking about, it's like, that kind of helped for me. My husband's about to take on, his first like student teacher. And he's like phenomenal. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe you've never had a student teacher. And he's like, yeah, but this is the first time. So, I'm like watching him do that process, and he's like really excited about it, So, I think that's a cool thing. Supporting your colleagues can kind of help you fight that burnout a little bit. So.
Yeah, and along those lines about supporting your colleagues, finding the right colleagues to surround yourself with, I think is really important.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember where I read it. I'll have to find it and maybe put it in the show notes. But it was an article about finding your marigolds. And I don't know if you know what marigolds do in a garden.
I know the deer don't really bother them.
Exactly. Marigolds are planted around a garden to protect the garden from certain pests. And so it was an article about surrounding yourself with people who are like your marigolds, who are going to help you survive and thrive, especially in the harder times when you may be feeling that feeling of burnout more. And I think that's really important. I feel really terribly for colleagues in other schools and other states. I know I've read people posting on Facebook groups and things like that about how they're the only teacher, of music in their school. And aside from that, they don't really talk to anybody else, and they're really isolated. And I think that's a really easy way to get that feeling of burnout, when there's no support from no colleagues to go to and say, you know what, I'm really, really struggling today. And not being able to go to somebody in your school and just, being able to chat and having that person say, it's okay. Everybody feels that way from time to time. And, what do you need from me? And I think that's really important. And that can be tough, especially I guess if you're, maybe that's, and if you're in a small district somewhere, or maybe if you're traveling a lot, you don't feel like you have that home school. How do you feel, Jen? I know you travel a bit.
Yeah.
Do you find that makes you feel isolated at times?
Yeah. It does. I have to say, I haven't eaten a meal in the teacher's room since we came back from the COVID shutdown. Part of it's just like, I'm in this building 2 days. I have to get XYZ done. I have to lock myself in this room for my whole lunch and prep to make it happen. But part of it's like, okay, I can I just don't know anybody, and I'm starting to get to know people at being in, the buildings I've been in for 4 or 5 years, but it's tough. It
takes a lot of extra time.
It does. It takes a lot of extra time. And that I have 6 minutes to use the bathroom. Do I spend 3 of it talking to someone in the hallway, or do I just go real quick, come back and make a few copies when I get back? Like, you have to, you I'm not that calculated with my friendships, but like, you have, I'm every once in a while, I'm like, okay, that was a good, chat. I'm really glad I got to connect with that person. 'Cause you're right. Like, the people you surround yourself with at work, really, really matter. Like, we're lucky to have like this to talk things through. So, this is your, band director hotline. Reach out to Erik and Jen and CJ if you need to talk, So, but no, really, it makes a huge difference. And I don't, I've always been a traveling teacher. I've never taught in one building in 15 years. I haven't just been in one building with one classroom with one band. So I'm kind of used to it.
Yeah. So what else is on your mind, CJ? What other thoughts, questions are floating around out there?
Okay, this one is kind of out of left field, but one of the things that I noticed, like going with a couple of my peers, like to the preschool and stuff, is that a lot of us took on like a teacher voice around the kids. And by teacher voice, probably because they're younger, we took up like kind of baby voices, and we were talking to them in a different way than we would talk to each other. And I was just wondering what you guys thought of like taking on a teacher voice, especially with kids that are slightly older, like in the middle school level and stuff like that. And yeah.
I'm definitely louder in ensemble. I don't know if that, I don't know. Jen, you and I have talked about this before, how it's like, Mrs. Wise and Mr. Donough are like characters in a show
a little
when
bit.
You're up, especially in front of a large group.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I get really excited and very animated when I'm up in front of a group. Maybe more so than I am like in real life. But yeah. I don't know if I ever really, it's not like something that's just you turn on or turn off. It kind of is just natural. Did you find like you were thinking about it, CJ, when you ended up doing that, or just happened like,
or it was just like
organically? Like if you work in a retail job and it's like the voice that you use when you're behind the cash, like the cash register is different than the voice that you use when you're talking to like your coworkers.
Oh yeah.
It was like,
I had a telephone voice for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like sometimes when I'm in front of the class, I'll slip into that, but then I realize that I've slipped into it. And I hate the idea of like, cause I feel like when I take on that voice, it's like I'm separating, like I'm making it more of like a me to you sort of thing instead of like an us feeling within the classroom. So then I try to like actively turn it off and just talk to them as if they're little people instead of student teacher atmosphere, if that makes sense.
The sage on the stage. I forget who said that.
My husband says I have a podcast voice. I hope I talk like pretty, straightforward with you guys, but he says I have a podcast voice. So
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe I just turn it on every time I see you, Erik. I don't know. And you'll never know. But
that's right. I was going to say, I don't hear much difference than usual.
There you go. You'll never know. But I did for a while, and then I kind of, and then I stepped in front of a high school band, and I was like, talking like I talk to my middle schoolers or my elementary kids or whatever. And I guess I was just like, I just snapped into that mode. And then, I asked one of the other staff members, like, oh, how do you think that went? It's like, you basically like baby talk to them. What? And I was like, no way. And they're like, yeah, you use like that us and we and warm and fuzzy, whatever. And I was like, yeah, but that's like how I teach. Like that works for me, like, he was like, yeah, no, I don't think that works for this group. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good to know. Like, thank you for your feedback. But I had I didn't, but I know I do a little bit of it. I know I do. You have to use the us and we thing, especially when you teach an ensemble. And if not, it ends up being like little like followers instead of like tiny little leaders all over the room, so like I do push like the us and we language like big time. And I definitely did with my student teachers, because the ones that came in and they're like, I will show you this. I'm like, no, you won't. We will discover this, and there's a line, right? And you just have to kind of find where in that spectrum you're comfortable. So
meanwhile, I had a kid once ask me why I was so mean in rehearsal but nice in lessons.
Oh, why are you so mean? Oh, we know though.
I prefer to think of it as strict. But when you have 60 children in front of you, you've got to be a little
with
strict.
With noisemakers.
You've got to be strict. You've got to keep control. Like, it's important,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely am more relaxed in lessons. I think I do my podcast voice in lessons more than I do in front of an ensemble.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, CJ, you were my student. Do you remember that was I different in front of an ensemble than I was in lessons? I'm asking you to think back years, so I don't you don't remember.
I actually have been reliving how I was as a student in middle school a little bit recently, because my lesson group, it was just me and one other oboist. And I distinctly remember that you would ask us questions and we would deadpan. Like, we would not say anything. And it was like a competition of like how long we could go in a lesson without saying anything to you. And now, like, going as like a teacher, I was like, why was I so horrible to him? Because like, I can't imagine what that would feel like if my class just said nothing. Yeah, we used to do it all the time. Like, we would just sit there and not say anything.
Did you do it on purpose?
I think at a certain point it did become on purpose. Like, it was like a certain level was like, oh, I'm shy, and the other half was like, no, we're just doing this. But as far as how you were as a teacher, I think maybe a little more animated in front of the ensemble, but in order to keep everyone engaged, you always you need to have that kind of animation and stuff. So I think, yeah.
I've definitely tried to be quieter now in rehearsal than naturally I want to be, because I think keeping it a little quieter, like myself a little quieter, keeps the ensemble a little quieter. I don't know if it doesn't necessarily work.
I teach at a cafeteria. I have no choice. And my lessons are in the gym. So no, it's shout or die, for me.
Yeah.
So,
but I think the most important thing is that no matter like what voice you're using in front of your ensemble or your students, it's like they need to know that you are genuine in what you're talking to them. Like, although we talk about it like being, a performer in front of the ensemble, and teaching is a performing art. I'll say that until the day I die. But I think it's important that although we're doing that, you're not being somebody you're not in front of your students. It's just more maybe a caricature of yourself. Rather than being somebody completely, different, because I think kids see right through that.
Totally. And they tune you out. Like if you're not, they don't even hear you. Like if you just say something, they don't even hear it. It doesn't go through. So,
yeah. Which is why I think when maybe teachers have some of that feeling of burnout and they're trying to, not show that, I think sometimes it may come across as just flat. And that makes it more difficult, because then the kids are less engaged, and that can maybe increase that feeling of burnout. So I can understand why that can like sort of spiral. Yeah. To take it back there to the other topic.
I wanted to take it back to something you said, Jen, like a second ago. So you were talking about like both of you were talking about keeping order, like especially in ensemble rehearsals and stuff. And one of the things that we're learning about right now is like child-centric teaching methods and that sort of thing. And I keep coming back to the question of like, well, obviously you want the students, like one of the things is like, oh, if you give the whole class shaker eggs and they're all making noise, but you want to talk to them, you don't want to stop them from creating and making noise and stuff. You don't want to tell them no, but also like you have to find the way to like recenter the classroom. So I was just wondering like how you guys kind of allow students to explore what they're doing in their music and stuff, while also like keeping a balance of like, I am a teacher and you need to have like a little respect for me and stuff.
Mm.
Ooh, me first.
Please. I hope you have a good answer.
I do. And this secret is it happens in September and October with very clear expectations. Very clear. Like can't miss. Like, see, this is an egg shaker. Meet your egg shaker. Hello, egg shaker. Like, like, oh, we love our egg shaker. But sometimes when I say that we need to, like, your eyes need to be up here and your egg shaker is not part of the conversation, your egg shaker is going to take a nap. And we put it down and it stays on the ground out of your hands, and your hands stay here on your leg while your egg shaker is just sleeping so sweetly next to you.
Jen,
like,
you're so good.
Like, oh dude, I do not mess around in September and October. Like, but it's that kind of conversation before they put the egg shaker, before you put it in their hands. Like, they need to know this is our instrument. We respect our instrument. We respect each other, and this is how we do it, and then you can make, you can go crazy and make whatever kind of music you want with them. If you have that signal that says, okay, everybody, it's time for your egg shaker to take a nap while we get ready for the next thing. So, like for me, yeah, like I said, those procedures happen in September and October. Like the rehearsals before the concert, we review instruments up, instruments down. Like in lessons, we review it before we try and do it in rehearsal. So I'm like really big on doing all the teaching in smaller groups, in lessons, in small group lessons, and then in rehearsal is when we like put it together and show everybody else how we learned what we learned in lessons. So that's part of the sharing is caring thing. It's like you get to show what you learned by like doing the right thing in rehearsal. And that kind of just like empowers them to make the right choice and do, so you really can do whatever you want once they like know the box that we're working within,
Sure.
So yeah.
And CJ, it sounds like, that's a question that you came at it from more of a general music kind of focus. And that's something that I've never taught, at least to elementary kids. So that is interesting. And Jen, I love the way you put that in there. That I think we also probably got that title for this episode out of it right there. Put your egg shaker to sleep.
I know. I'm like, and I have no idea where that comes from. Like, that's the thing. It's like, that's just like, okay, egg shakers. How are we going to be successful with egg shakers? It's by, that's it.
Well, this was a lot of fun. Is there anything we didn't touch on that is just burning and to be discussed?
I think my curiosity flame has been quenched for the evening, but more questions to come.
Yeah, that's good. I think I'm good. I think
spoken like an artiste.
That's right. That's it. And lots of report from the convention after we finished that up at the end of the month. So, yeah.
Nice. I think that'll be great. Well, you know what? Our friends who are listening, if you enjoyed tonight's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, or frankly, all of the podcast apps. Go on everything and just create an account and just give us 5 stars and the same review on everything. You can even go on YouTube now. Go and like and subscribe on YouTube, like everything. You should get 10 pop-ups every time we release a new episode.
Yep. And follow us if you haven't already on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're out there. And also please consider becoming a monthly supporter. The link is in our show notes to do that. That would really help us continue to grow our podcast.
Tell everybody about us too. Word of mouth is huge. If you liked hearing what we talked about today, or you think we, you liked another episode, maybe better than this one, or maybe this was your absolute favorite so far. I don't know. Whatever. Just tell somebody about it. Go tell 10 people about it. All of TCNJ should be buzzing at this point.
Oh, they will be. I'll spread the word.
Oh my gosh. Totally. That's it. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Yeah, but get in touch with us on social media if you have any ideas for episodes, and yeah, we're here. Take a Cue podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Well, Erik, CJ, just like our shaker eggs, I think it's time to put this one to sleep.
I'm ready to go to sleep too. I don't know about you.
Me too. Yeah. Oh, let's get out there and make great music.